Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, debt slaves, serfs, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm usually welcome. And so we supposedly have this ceasefire going on between Israel and Gaza. And of course, a week or so ago, we had an infraction, and Israel used it as an excuse to continue bombing Gaza. And then we find out that actually, because of two Israeli soldiers killed, and apparently these two Israeli soldiers that later came out were killed using a bulldozer and finding unexploded ordnance. So it wasn't even Hamas attacks on Israeli soldiers. And after huge bombardment and continued attacks on Gaza, Israel reinstated the ceasefire. But not before several terrible events. Of course, a lot more children were killed. And in fact, on October 29th, airstrikes killed 100 Palestinians, half of which were children. And then there was another account of a family of 11 that wandered into the so-called yellow zone and were all killed, an entire family. And so I've done several videos on the destruction of Gaza. And so this whole idea that Israel continues attacks on a huge pile of rubble is really disturbing, and the whole fact that the ceasefire is not really slowing down their carnage in Gaza, and we have 60 million tons of rubble now is a figure I wanted to bring in because 92% of homes in Gaza have been destroyed, and something like 85% of structures are either damaged or destroyed, and tens of thousands are buried under the rubble. And yet Israel continues to use massive amounts of ordnance and continues airstrikes and IDF incursions into Gaza. And now we have reports from the Palestinians, which I have faith that are accurate, that the Israelis have violated the ceasefire terms 194 times. And Israel has rejected 107 requests to increase aid. So according to the ceasefire terms, they were supposed to allow a certain amount of aid to go in to feed people in Gaza, and only 30% of aid has been allowed by Israel so far. And so this whole idea that there's a ceasefire seems like a joke, and I kind of knew it would be a joke when it was announced. And Trump continues to go out there and boast about his achievement of this ceasefire. And the fact that the ceasefire technically is holding really doesn't mean much. And this repeats the fact that there was a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel, and yet Israel continues to make daily airstrikes in southern Lebanon, continues to destroy buildings in southern Lebanon, and the same thing is going on in Gaza. And so the bottom line is that this ceasefire is a ceasefire for Hamas. It is not a ceasefire for Israel. And even with no provocations, Israel continues to destroy buildings and continues to attack Palestinians, continues to kill children, continues to uh, obliterate and complete their genocide in Gaza. And so uh, I my lack of faith that the ceasefire would hold has been confirmed. And as I mentioned, it's a ceasefire name only, and Israel will use any provocation to continue where they left off. And another element of this, I brought up another video, of course, is that Israel's created this buffer zone, and according to the ceasefire, now they control 58% of Gaza and are occupying it. And any Palestinians that wander into that so-called yellow zone will be assumed to be militants and will be killed. So that's another component that we have. The ceasefire uh, is a real tragedy for Gaza because I can guarantee that 50% of Gaza that's now occupied Israel will never be returned to Gaza. And so the 1.7 million people Palestinians that still live in Gaza are now being squeezed into half the land that they used to live on, and I can guarantee they will never get that 58% back. And so the disappearance of Gaza seems to be imminent, and Israel will move ahead with their plan to move 1.7 million Palestinians out of Gaza at some point, because right now they already confiscated half the land and it will never go back to Gaza. I'm a useful idiot, don't you be one too?